Judith Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I must say that was an awfully long 10 minutes. I almost made myself, or thought about taking a point of order and questioning whether or not the clock had stopped. But anyway, everybody's allowed to have their say in Parliament, and that's a marvellous thing. This is a great budget, particularly when you look around, when one looks around the world and sees what's happening elsewhere. When we look around, and we like to compare ourselves often with Australia, and of course in Australia they do mining, resources, the sorts of things that the opposition wouldn't have us touch, but they're happy to take the income that comes from it, those sorts of things. But actually what this budget has been able to do is to be able to continue down the great path that the National-led government, along with our colleagues in the ACT Party, United Future and the Murray Party, have been able to deliver. If I look at the law and order and justice areas, and that's ones that I'm most concerned with, what we've seen at a time where there has been a global financial crisis, a recession, we came into government and the country had been in recession for the last 3 quarters. We were told that what would happen is that there would be an increase in crime, that crime would go up, that we would run out of prison beds, that we would be in a terrible situation. And we came and we found that there had been these new prisons built by the previous Labor government, and they're extremely flash, I have to say, extremely flash. But they need a lot of work to put those double bunks in, and that seemed to sort out quite a few of our issues. And then we, of course, brought in a private prison, private management, which seemed to be fantastic, really. But at the same time, of course, the member over there, Mr Hipkins, who seems to have forgotten that there were 2 escapes from Waikeria prison just the other day, Mr Hipkins, which of course is state-run. But of course in the private sector, when Serco, when one of their prisoners escapes, it costs them $150,000. But nobody pays in the public sector. But what we've seen is actually a situation where the crime rate has come down. It is now at the same level as it was in 1982. 1982. And amongst all of that, we've also seen the prison population start to fall for the first time in a sustained way since the 1930s. In a sustained way since 1930s. So instead of Labor work constantly having to catch up with more prison beds, this government's got the situation where we have now announced the closure of 2 prisons, the Wellington Mount Crawford prison and also the New Plymouth prison, which should never have been used for housing people in today's world, and we wouldn't have had to use them if we'd been left with enough beds by the previous government. But anyway, that's just some of the success stories. We can also say 600 more police on the beat, 600 more frontline police, DNA testing for serious offenders and tools to seize the proceeds of crime. That's been a great success. Serious criminals and repeat offenders kept behind bars longer with no bail or parole eligibility. And it was this party, along with our coalition partners, United Future and the ACT Party, that brought through the Search and Surveillance Act, which should have been done years ago and was first started about 2007. But unfortunately, some parties in this House decided they were going to play politics with this most important issue, and we're quite happy to leave the police out there unable to deal with methamphetamine dealers and the like, and shame on them for not taking the right stance. What we've seen, though, is what we've seen, and amongst all that, we've seen this Prime Minister take on the role of saying that he wanted to tackle methamphetamine in this country, and he has done so with outstanding results. He has made sure that that departments have worked together, that ministers have worked together. There has been a coordinated approach. So instead of the previous Labor government's approach of, oh, we can't do anything about it because it might upset their rights or some other nonsense like that, what we've seen is a coordinated work across the police, customs, justice, health, the corrections, the prison system, to make sure that we deal with this issue. And we are now starting to see some really good improvement, but the battle is still not over. There's still more work to do. We've also seen the road toll come down to the lowest it's been in 50 years. And that is around very smart road policing. It's also about new road safety initiatives, better public awareness as well. So congratulations to all those people involved in that. They have made us very proud. We've had 18 new public safety laws passed. We have over 6,000 families are now protected by police safety orders. We've got prison escapes actually at the lowest levels ever. We have 2,000 victims are now supported through the offender levy, and yes, Mr Speaker, there is more. So under this budget, what we are seeing is not what we're seeing in many other similar countries around the world, which are seeing massive redundancies in police, massive losses of confidence in the safety of the public, but we're actually seeing the police maintained at the level that they have been. Yes, they're constantly looking at how they can use technology to upgrade the way in which they work, to be smarter, faster, more effective in preventing crime in the first place. They've brought in the Policing Excellence Program, and that has been a fantastic success, and it's going to keep going. But in addition, in the Justice Ministry in particular, we're looking at across the sector work that we're doing to make sure that we look at the crime lines, you could say, of those coming in through the pipeline, those coming into the justice system, either in youth justice and then ending out through the prison and the probation area. What we're doing is the ministers working together to make sure that what we do and what our chief executives do are constantly predicated on the need to bring crime further down, to bring youth crime down, to bring down violent assaults. So this is actually better public service. This is actually about looking at how we can better manage the resources we have, how we can better react to the public, how we can be smarter in how we operate. Coming up this year will be a completion of the review of the family court, and that is something that I'm very passionate about, having practiced for around 20 years, some of it in the family area. And I have seen over the years many times where the family court has been used to abuse others, children not put in at the forefront of parents' minds, and sorry, throat's going.
We knew it wouldn't be emotional.
Oh no, definitely not. But what we've seen actually is a situation where children can be used and by one parent to attack the other, and that's simply not acceptable. The state should not fund that sort of behaviour. The state should not be complicit in it. The state should be better than that, and that's what we expect to be. In tertiary education, we're continuing to target student assistance to where it's most needed and ensure better value for taxpayers. As Simon O'Connor spoke about his 2 postgraduate degrees, both completed when he was working full-time and studying full-time, I feel like I could say that I sort of did the same too. My first postgraduate degree, working full-time and studying part-time. My second, working full-time, studying part-time. It is hard to do it that way, but at the end of the day, we didn't owe anyone any money at the end of it. And it's a tough road, but that's what happens. I think we have to be very careful what we do in tertiary education. We also have to be very careful with taxpayers' money. We have to also understand that the people who are the panel beaters, the people who work in the supermarkets, that they expect us to be careful with their tax money as well, and we expect a decent return for it, and that means good education, good outcomes, people contributing to the economy. In essence and in conclusion, Mr Speaker, this is an excellent budget given at very difficult times, difficult financial times around the world. We just have to look at our friends in Europe to see what has happened there, and we're not just talking about Greece, there's other parts of Europe very badly affected, and not just Europe, the UK, parts of Australia, parts of the United States. Some have been going through very, very tough times, much tougher than us. We're very fortunate we are placed in the world. We're very fortunate to have a judicial system that is not corrupt. We're very fortunate to have a police force that's not corrupt. All these things help to build confidence in the economy and confidence in business. However, Mr Speaker, we are a small country. We have to live within our means, and this budget does.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Phil Goff.